Hey guys, what is up? It is the Fast Break Report here, bringing you guys another vlog. So, wanted to talk about a small piece of news that we got today out of Bleacher Report, and that is that the GM of the Golden State Warriors, Bob Myers, is expected to be a free agent this offseason, and apparently teams that are really watching the situation closely are the Washington Wizards, the New York Knicks, the Phoenix Suns, and the Los Angeles Clippers. Right now, I would give the advantage to the Los Angeles Clippers, being that they're the only team on this list that's still in Los Angeles, or in California. But I look at all four of these teams, and I thought it would be fun to run down these teams and just talk about, who should really get them, because right now, there are only two teams on this list that I think could really use Bob Myers' help. The Clippers are a team that are a playoff team with or without him. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're really in a situation of hoping that Kawhi Leonard stays healthy and adding a little bit more depth to their roster. You know what I'm saying? Maybe add an upgrade piece to what they currently have. That's where the Clippers are, man. Like, they're going to be a playoff team this year. At worst, they're going to be a play-in team. Even without Kawhi, they're a playoff team. It's really Kawhi Leonard's the guy that really takes them over the top. So the Clippers are not exactly the team that I'm thinking is really needs them. But same thing with the Phoenix Suns. Like, they're a team that needs Devin Booker more than anything. I think we've realized that now with all that is going on in Phoenix. Mostly because they just got Cam Johnson back. DeAndre Ayton has been playing, inconsistently. Chris Paul has been one of those guys that's just not what he used to be. So yeah, they're a team that might want him just because they gotta maybe trade Chris Paul, maybe they gotta add someone else to their roster. I feel like that's coming down the line here shortly. Now that they signed DeAndre Ayton to that huge contract, so they're gonna be looking to make some moves, I think, to improve this roster this offseason. One of them, I think, is get rid of Chris Paul. So that's one reason they could be wanting Bob Myers. The last two teams are desperate. I'm going to say that. The last two teams are desperate, and that is the New York Knicks and the Washington Wizards. And because they're two organizations that really don't get the cream of the crop. And the New York Knicks are a team you would think would be they're in a big market, right? They're out of New York City. They play in Madison Square Garden. You would think they would be a team that gets the cream of the crop of talent, and clearly they don't. I mean, their GM is not a guy that I'm in favor of. I've said this plenty of times in the past on the channel that I don't like the RJ Barrett extension. I understand they had to extend him, but I really was just kind of I don't know if RJ Barrett's ever going to be the guy that they expect him to be. I think we've all pretty much given up on the idea of RJ Barrett being a superstar player or a 1A or even a 1B player. He could be a good, maybe he could be a second or third option, but he's not in the one conversation. You know what I'm saying? He's not a 1A or a 1B. He's more like a B. You know what I'm saying? Or a 2A or a 2B. So that's where I think we all view RJ Barrett. Julius Randle's one of those guys. It's he's playing better this year, arguably at an all-star level. And Jalen Brunson's very good too, but when I look at this team, I think to myself, they have a lot of money tied up in three guys that it's if your three best players on your team are RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, and Jalen Brunson, I have to ask, is this really a championship level trio that you've put together? Most would say no. I would say no. So they're a team that I think really needs to get themselves a player that's in the top 10 to really put them over the top. And the same can really be said about the Washington Wizards. Tommy Shepard right now, if I'm correct. Yeah, Tommy Shepard is the GM for the Washington Wizards, and I'd say they need Bob Myers the most. Tommy Shepard has been with this team since 2003. He was part of the Gilbert Arenas era in acquiring Gilbert Arenas. He was a part of, the John Wall, Bradley Beal rebuild. But they are not by any means a good basketball team at the moment. They signed they signed Bradley Beal to an insane extension that he's not worth. It's arguably the worst contract in NBA history, if we're being quite frank and, bold about it or straightforward. It was easily the worst contract I've seen. Mostly because Bradley Beal's getting paid to be like a Giannis, Jokic, Doncic type of player, Steph Curry, Jason Tatum, the likes of those guys, Joel Embiid, and he's not one of those guys. He's not a guy that you put him on your team and you're automatically a playoff team. It doesn't happen. So that's the first thing. They signed Bradley Beal to such a huge contract, and I get it, it's all for loyalty reasons, but he's never a guy that's going to single-handedly backpack you into the playoffs. This is a team that I watched a video by 3Cone the other day, or actually it was today. I watched a video by 3Cone, and he said that the Wizards haven't had a 50-win season since, 1978 to the 1979 season, so 78-79. That's 43 fucking years ago, boys. 43 years ago. I mean, the closest they've come to that is 49 wins, and that was like in the mid 2010s. That was like 2015s, 2016, in that era. So they're a team that I desperately think needs a change. And being that the GM of the Wizards has been around for so long, first he was the president of basketball operations. Now he's the actual GM of the team, Tommy Shepard. I'm just going to assume that ownership has way more pull in that front office than it should. And I'm assuming Tommy Shepard has a very, very good relationship with the owner if he's been there for this long. Most teams don't hold on to GMs this long, especially when your team just consistently loses year over year over year over year. And we also have to ask ourselves, right, with the Wizards, it's like, you really want to, you're not even a playoff team now with Bradley Beal, Kristaps Porzingis, and Kyle Kuzma, and they just traded Rui Hachimura with everyone taking on the assumption that they're going to be giving Kyle Kuzma a contract extension, which you could argue has to be anywhere between the low 20s to mid 20 millions per year. So I just have to ask, I'm like, does Tommy Shepard have a job that he's just not afraid of losing? Because the Wizards are a team that has to tank. I know there's a lot of NBA fans out there that simply don't support tanking, but when your team has been this fucking bad for 43 years, that you don't have a 50-win season in 43 years, it is time for you to, put your fucking pride away and tank. Okay? And Bob Myers is just a guy that I think would help them with drafting, because they've been few and far between to hitting on draft picks, okay? They acquired Kristaps Porzingis, but if you're gonna sign Kyle Kuzma, why would you extend Kyle Kuzma? Trade him now and get your draft picks. Tank for Victor Wembanyama. Do the right thing, This is a team that I watch them play. I've watched their history since I've been alive, and I'm just like, this is the team they think's going to win a championship. Bradley Beal, Kyle Kuzma, and Kristaps Porzingis. I mean, and the worst part is, even if they try to trade Bradley Beal, he has such a huge contract now that he's hard to trade. You're going to be wanting draft compensation, and teams aren't going to be willing to give you really what you're asking for him. Maybe he might warrant 3 or 4 first-round picks, but when you also consider how much salary cap teams are going to have to put together to trade for him, you're probably going to end up getting 2 first-round picks. I doubt it's going to be 4. So I don't know, man. You know what? The Wizards situation just has been a disaster for so long that I support really any change that they make. The Kentavious Caldwell-Pope trade has been kind of a disaster, too, in hindsight. I mean, Will Barton has been playing kind of like shit, and Monte Morris has been, efficiency-wise, okay, but he's not a super impactful player. You know what I'm saying? So it's and right now, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is having, arguably the greatest season of his career in Denver right now. So I don't know, man. You know what? This is a team with a lot of questions that it has to ask itself. And one of them is, do you get rid of your GM, your Tommy Shepard GM, who's been there for fucking ever, it seems, for about as long as I've been alive, and, move on to someone like Bob Myers? I think you absolutely do. I think Bob Myers is a guy who could really fix Washington's team around, their culture around, maybe finally get them to hit on some draft picks, because, I don't know what's going on with the Wizards, but, they don't sign players well. Like they don't extend contracts very well. Like they're just stupid when it comes to signing players. Okay. Players don't develop well there. Like, the only two players I've seen that actually developed well there, and God knows how long, were John Wall and Bradley Beal. And then on top of it, it's like, they don't draft well. Like, they're a team that just refuses to tank. They don't really, like, pick the greatest prospects in the draft. Like, yeah, they took Denny Avdia, they took Rui Hachimura, they took all these guys that were hyped, but something tells me, like, something's wrong beyond the GM here. I feel like there's something wrong with their scouting department, something's wrong with their development department. So, like, I really think, like, Bob Myers going in there would really change that team around. And I'd like to see it, man. Like, in my lifetime, yeah, the Wizards will be a playoff team again at some point, but, like, I just feel like they're a team that is stuck in the middle of mediocrity because they refuse to tank. They're like the Pacers in a lot of ways. They're like a team that's just like, they're okay with being a play-in team or a barely like a 7th or 8th seed playoff team, and they're happy with that. That's the bane of their existence. And if I were a Wizards fan, I'd be tired of that. And the reason I can speak for that is because I'm a Pacers fan, and I'm tired of it. I am tired of the Pacers being a 7th or 8th seed basketball team, and fans are okay with it because we make the fucking playoffs. Like, I'll never understand this ideology. I'll never understand the just making the playoffs being enough and that's it. Because I think, like, if you're a team and you're clearly stuck in the middle of mediocrity, just like the Pacers and the Wizards currently are, you should be tanking to get any superstar player you can, any player with superstar potential, right? Like, if it only takes 1 year of tanking for you to end up in the playoffs for the next possibly 8 to 10 years, why don't you do it? Why not? Why not do a tank job for 1 season? If it only takes 1 season to get you a Ja Morant or a Zion Williamson, fucking do it. So, I don't know, man. You know what? Some teams are just too proud to put their pride away, and the Wizards are one of them. So, I don't know, man. We'll have to wait and see, but definitely an interesting piece of news, because then it also poses the question, how does this affect Golden State? You know what I'm saying? Who's going to replace Bob Myers of all people? So, I don't know, man. The reason I'm making this video, though, is because apparently a lot of people around Bob Myers specifically truly believe he's leaving the Warriors this year. So, and being that the Warriors are, I think, the 6th seed now in the West, they're finally back into, I think, the playoff conversation. I could be wrong, but they've been playing better basketball as of late. Yeah, they're currently, actually no, they're currently 10th. Oy. So they're playing territory at the moment. But they're a team that, you know, is not playing well this year like they did last year, and you know, they won last year, so it's kind of like, you know, for them to be a play-in team this year says a lot about the NBA, I think. So tell me what you guys think about this down below in the comment section below. Like, helps me out, subscribe if you guys want to see more on the Fast Break Report, and out of this motherfucker. Peace, guys.